So my chickens are growing up. I got about 2 more weeks and then they'll be 8 weeks old. And that's about the time that I would start processing the roosters. I'm going to get a weight on these Cornish rocks. And I'm talking about the white birds here. The red ones are my Rhode Island Reds. And I'm still hoping I got a rooster out of here. One's going to sneak up on me over here. You going to get me? That's what my other rooster used to do. He used to try to get up behind me. Now over here are 7 more Cornish rocks that are 2 weeks younger. And I'm actually going to not separate these anymore. I'm going to remove part of these gates so that they can get in and out of here. Look at the size difference between these just in 2 weeks. These things should be about 5 or 6 pounds already. I'm going to wait till they get their belly full and get a little calmed down. Then what I do is I'll put one in my 5-gallon bucket, and then I've got a scale up here on the deck. It's very handy to have one because truthfully, if you were doing this as a profession, you would be like taking a weight measurement every week and checking their progress. But this is more of a hobby, and I found that these grow at a pretty consistent rate. You just gotta give them more than enough food so they have enough to eat, and then take it away at night. Normally about this time I would hear the roosters start to crow, but I haven't heard that yet. You can see they got full combs on these. You can tell which ones are the roosters in here. See these two right here next to each other? Wait till they lift their heads up. You see how they're different? That's what I'm hoping my Rhode Island Reds here. It looks like I might have at least 2 roosters in here. Maybe 3. You can also tell by the size difference. Even on the Rhode Island Reds, I can see that the rooster is bigger than the hen right next to it. So about January, these Rhode Island Red hens will start laying. That's what happened last year. It was kind of a funny story. I had raised a whole bunch of Rhode Island Reds from chicks. And I said, man, these things should be laying. Where are the eggs? And they weren't using the hen house up there, even though I had introduced them to it. And so I started looking around, and I found one of these old dog houses I had turned over, and there were 20 eggs underneath that, so they had used that to where they were laying their eggs, all of them at once. And I'm like, good golly, Miss Molly, I was wondering what happened to all the eggs. So I had to lock them up into one of the smaller hen houses up there so that they knew that that was their home. I did that for a couple days, and then they started laying in there. Alright, they're kind of getting calmed down. I'm going to grab this rooster right in front here. So here's my scale, and there's my chicken. It's one of the roosters. And you look at the inside black scale, and you can see we're about 5.5 pounds. So we're right on schedule here. This is great. Hey, buddy. These are very docile birds. They don't mind being handled at all. He just says, let me get back to my feed. There's a fatty there. So my goal is to get these things up to, like I said, I may end up going about 10 weeks to get to 10 pounds, but I found at 9 weeks the roosters are pretty much there already. It takes an extra week for the hens to get there, but with the smaller quantity I have here, I'll probably be processing all of them at the same time. Now another thing that's kind of surprising me, and it's just because I haven't done it since spring, but they're drinking almost 5 gallons a day now. Not counting the small one I got over there for those guys, but just these chickens here. So I just finished filling this back up again. Now let me go ahead and open the gate here so that these guys can move around together. So this is the funny part, you know, the grass is always greener on the other side of the fence. So as soon as I open that up, my Cornish rocks and Rhode Island reds decided to commingle. Now the Rhode Island reds are a lot more active, and they've been getting in there with the other Cornish rocks all the time. In fact, my smaller Cornish rocks were getting kind of flighty and they'd jump up over the fence, but I think that I think they'll do fine. I do have one miniature Cornish rock in here that it's probably not going to mature. That happens occasionally. It may be just a regular Cornish hen instead of the rock. If you look in there, you can see it's a midget compared to the rest. Height challenged. You have to be so careful walking around because they'll get underneath your feet, and I'd hurt one of my Rhode Island Reds feet last year. It got behind me and it took a long time before it healed up. All right, happy times in here with the chickens. Yeah, after they eat, they kind of just lounge around. 41 degrees this morning. It's absolutely a perfect temperature to raise chickens. I do put the heat lamps on for them at night. You can see one of them over there is enjoying the heat lamp. So it's that time of year. We've been firing up the fireplace. I'll do a little video again to show everything you need to know about maintaining a fire, starting a fire, maintaining a fire. In October, we start having fires intermittently towards the end of October, and I've already had one a couple days. This time of year, look at I got a photo bomber here. Hey, Dougie. He loves the fireplace. What happens is we started getting those 40 degrees nights. If you just have one night, the heating of the day, there's plenty of thermal mass in the house and we don't need a fire. But you have 2 nights in a row, and then all of a sudden, you know, the second morning, we run a fire starting probably about 6 in the morning, and it runs until about noon, and then we don't feed it anymore. We feed it once about 9 o'clock, and then that's it. And then it'll maintain the house temperature beautiful. Now, on some days where it's very rainy and the temperature doesn't, obviously we don't get any thermal heating from the sun or anything, then we may have to run the fire throughout the day. But this isn't the time of year where we're running full bore, so I kind of only load it about half full. I also recommend these little gauges. I'll go into that later. These are helpful for your burn temperatures and everything, but I'm standing back probably 10 feet from this and I can feel the heat. So something to think about. This saves a lot of electricity. That blower doesn't draw hardly anything, but yet it kicks the heat out all the way into the room. And then we have vaulted ceilings with return air vents at the top, and there's also a fan that keeps that air circulated up there so the heat just isn't at the top of the ceiling. And using the return air vents, we circulate the heat throughout the whole house. And until about January, I can just run this fireplace up here and it heats this house as well as the basement apartment that I have down there. But come January, where it's very cold, I have to kick on my basement heater, and that's like kicking on afterburners, and then everything's maintained perfectly. Something to think about. In the event of a power outage, I've got some AGM batteries down there with an inverter, and now for a fan motor you have to have a pure sine wave. So I've got a pure sine wave inverter I'd hook up for this motor, and I could run that for days on that battery, AGM batteries. Alright, so I got this mama and babies here. I got to get them out of here. They're old enough now, they don't really need to be in the nursery. Like I've said before, when they start getting out of the nesting box, they're ready. That one back here looks like a little squirrel. It's just like the mama. Pretty colors. I got to process some rabbits today. I call this graduation day. And that'll make room for them to be able to move out. And it's a lot less work cleaning these cages up here too, because the poo just drops straight down. It's just a matter of getting the old hay out, putting new hay, and throw some food and water. Well, I'm out here saying Some of my last thank yous to my peppers, because this is about it. I think this next week I'm ripping all my peppers out and preparing the beds for the onions that are going to be here in a couple weeks. I'm still pulling quite a few off of here, but what I found towards the fall, they just start losing their heat anyways, and they become more like bell peppers. But that's been my experience. I don't know what yours is, but this is my beautiful, fantastic Tabasco pepper plant in the front, and then I've got jalapenos kind of trying to grow in between, but I still got tons of jalapenos. In fact, I just picked some today after picking several days in a row, so there's a whole bunch in here. I just want to show you this. We're starting to really get some heads on the broccoli. This is fantastic. And I've still got some more collards I got to pick, but take a look in here. This is my garlic. Hopefully this comes out on the camera. There's one. There's several popping up here. So the garlic is doing fantastic. I got to get some mulch on top of here though. I was going to put a thin covering of cow manure and then the mulch. Let me show you my Egyptian walking onions. Remember, these were planted at exactly the same time. Can you see that? That is fantastic. Those things are growing like crazy. I'm telling you, this is the most robust plant I've ever planted. And that's what it looked like after 1 year of growing, when I wasn't really harvesting like I should have, and they ended up growing in clumps too close together. So I'm going to try to keep on top of it this year and keep these, get the mature ones out before the little ones start taking root. But that's a lot of onions right there. It's fantastic. I'm still looking at my cauliflower, and I'm not seeing any heads on these, but like I said, I got to go back and look at my what do you call it, the fertilizing schedule, because I may need to go throw some 10-10-10 or something in here. Let's go look at over here. Oh, so this is my Brussels sprouts. I'm hoping like heck that I get something out of these. Plants look very healthy. My green beans are not green beans, my peas are starting to grow up, and that cucumber still thinks it's going to do something. Here's some more peas. They're struggling a little bit. The rutabaga plants are humongous. I'm going to have to definitely give them more room next time. I think I'm terrible about writing things down. I got to figure out when I got to harvest these things. And these are my cabbage. Cabbage also grew up super huge. We've been harvesting a little bit of the kale. Just cut them in strips and put them in the salad. They're actually pretty good. Gives a different texture. So anyways, the garden looks great. Oh yeah, my tomatoes are done too. I got to pick the last of those green tomatoes off of there, and those are going to be pulled out, and that's going to be another onion bed. Try to get some rotation in here. Anyways, I see a few more jalapenos I got to reach in here and grab.
Hey, this is Thompson 777A here. I hope you enjoyed a little insight into my homestead, and I hope that you like, rate, and subscribe. I hope to keep bringing you varied content. This is some of my sweet little rabbits. I just separated the mama from them because they've grown up enough now, and starting another batch of rabbits. We're gonna have probably one more big litter before it gets super cold here. So I've got about 5 females that are pregnant, and then we'll wait until after full bore on winter for my spring rabbits. All right, well, again, hope everybody's treating you well. I hope you're doing well. Do the best you can. God bless.